The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review, and technically it's a double review because today we're going to be taking a look at not one, but two Transformers action figures, and they are the two Transformers Hot Wheels collaborative crossover action figures of Boneshaker and Twin Mill. So yeah, here they are, and for the first time in history, last year in 2025, Hasbro managed to partner with their longtime rival Mattel and produced Transformers action figures based on the most successful line, without a doubt, out of, dare I use the T-word, toy cars in world history, the Hot Wheels, and made two Transformers action figures based off of actual Hot Wheels cars produced by Mattel. So first off, we'll take a look at the Twin Mill. There's a picture of him in his robot mode and his alt mode, and I love the fact that Hasbro and Mattel decided that the names of the Hot Wheels cars themselves would be the names of the Transformers characters, the same names that they have as robots, so I really enjoy that. You've got Hasbro's logo up here, you got the Mattel logo up here for the Hot Wheels brand, and then you got the Transformers logo with Twin Mill's name, and the Hasbro logo down here for the Transformers aspect of the franchise. And I love how the box art for both Twin Mill and Boneshaker, it's the same thing, just the box art is different for each figure, but it's the image of the Hot Wheels track in the background, and like they've come out of a portal space bridge from the Transformers franchise, but it's in the shape of a Hot Wheels track from the Hot Wheels franchise, and so I just really enjoy that. But the reason why I'm showing you guys Twin Mill inside the box first before Boneshaker is because, for those of you unaware, Twin Mill holds the title of being the first ever Hot Wheels car that was an entirely original model of make of car created by Mattel for the Hot Wheels line, and didn't have any designs taken from any existing models of cars. Now, some would argue that the original Hot Wheels cars were heavily stylized and weren't miniature versions of actual models of Hot Wheels car. And while there is some truth to that, they were still based loosely off of real-life cars, but they were just modified with modifications to the chassis and different engine blocks. But Twin Mill was the first ever entirely original Hot Wheels car that was created by the designers at Mattel and had no cute designs or no modifications based off any real-life model of Hot Wheels car. And so for those wondering why Twin Mill was one of the two first Hot Wheels cars chosen to become a Transformers action figure, that's the reason why, because Twin Mill is the car that started the original Hot Wheels brand cars out there, and not just ones that were based off of modified versions of real-life models of cars and vehicles. So yeah, Twin Mill has that honor, and so I knew when they announced Hot Wheels cars were coming out, I had a feeling that Twin Mill was going to be one of the first Hot Wheels cars to become a Transformers character. So here's Twin Mill in his robot mode and the alt mode. And for those of you wondering, no, the Hot Wheels collaborative Transformers action figures, they are not the same size as Hot Wheels cars. They're the same size as Transformers action figures, so there is no chance of this being able to drive around a Hot Wheels track. And for those of you just wondering how much larger are the collaborative Hot Wheels Transformers are compared to an actual Hot Wheels car, here's a typical Hot Wheels car next to Twin Mill. So you can see they're about 2.5 times the size of an actual Hot Wheels car. So these are deluxe class sized Transformers action figures, and it even shows on the box that they stand 5 inches tall in robot mode, which is almost the same size that they have in alt mode. So yeah, these are first and foremost Transformers action figures. They just happen to have Hot Wheels cars for alt modes. So yeah, there's no interacting with the Hot Wheels cars or the Hot Wheels racing tracks. Back in the 90s for the Generation 2 line, Hasbro unleashed a subline of Transformers that were the same size as Mattel's Hot Wheels cars that were originally known as the GoBots Transformers. Due to the fact that Hot Wheels cars were so popular and were selling so well back in the early 90s. A few years later, in 2001, when the Car Robots series was launched, Hasbro renamed the GoBots from Generation 2, renamed them the Spy Changers, which is a much cooler name that they're remembered for today. So yes, these guys are not the same size as the Spy Changers. They are the same size as typical deluxe class Transformers action figures. Well, typical size for 2025 when they were first released. And for those of you wondering what anniversary the Hot Wheels and Transformers action figures are honoring, it's unfortunate. It's not actually any anniversary, as you can tell by the logo. It's just celebrating 2025 for the Hot Wheels and the Transformers. The Hot Wheels cars were launched in 1969, and the Transformers were launched in 1984. So had these guys been released in 2024, then they could have been released for the 40th anniversary of Transformers. But Hasbro would have had to have waited until the same year, 2024. If they had launched them in 2024 for the 40th anniversary of Hasbro, it would have also, my math is correct, been the 55th anniversary of Hot Wheels. So yeah, there's it's not unlike most of the collaborative Transformers that have been released. There's no anniversary year. 2025 was not an anniversary year for either Hot Wheels or the Transformers, but it's still cool that we got these figures. So yeah, there's Twin Mill in his robot mode and his alt mode, and he transforms back and forth between both modes in just 21 steps. And yeah, for those of you out there who are strictly Hot Wheels fans and you love to buy and collect Hot Wheels cars from Mattel, for those of you ever wondering what would it be like if Mattel's Hot Wheels cars were sentient, they could drive themselves, and they also had the ability of transforming into robots, and they had their own intelligence, their own personalities, and their own minds. The Transformers collaborative Hot Wheels figures give you that idea. And if you're strictly a Transformers fan, and you're not necessarily into collecting Hot Wheels, and you've always secretly wondered what would it be like if a Hot Wheels car became a Transformers action figure, from the Transformers side, that's what Twin Mill and Boneshaker are able to do. Now, supposedly, it's rumored that Twin Mill and Boneshaker aren't the only Hot Wheels collaborative Transformers figures coming out. They are going to come out with Hasbro and Mattel are partnering to release more Transformers Hot Wheels collaborative figures. Whichever models of Hot Wheels car they decide to use, I know I will buy them up, since what I'm trying to get out of my mouth is that I've been collecting Hot Wheels cars since I was a little kid. I apologize for yawning on camera right now. It's late at night when I'm filming this, but the first Hot Wheels cars I got was when I was only 3 years old. And I've been exposed to Hot Wheels a majority of my life. I got into Transformers about 10 years after I was into Hot Wheels, and to finally have Transformers action figures that turn into Hot Wheels cars, that's a fantastic dream made reality. To see this happen. So here is Boneshaker inside his box. There's his alt mode and his robot mode, and I don't know if Boneshaker, how early on in the Hot Wheels branding that his Hot Wheels car was released. I know I just said Twin Mill was the very first. I don't know if Boneshaker was the second, or if he was one of the first early model ones, and so I honestly don't know why they went with Boneshaker, other than the fact that they figured it would be the one of the cooler Hot Wheels car designs to be turned into a Transformers character. And I just love that they what makes Boneshaker iconic and gives him his name is that the front grille of his alt mode is mode is a skull face, and there's even hands wrapped around the light bulb, the headlights of his alt mode. And I just love that for Boneshaker, they painted him black and then gave him the yellow flame decals on his doors and the hood of his alt mode. And so they went all out. The designers at Hasbro and Mattel went all out with the Halloween motif for Boneshaker. But excuse me again. Despite the Halloween paint job and motif that has been used here for Boneshaker, just like Twin Mill, he is a heroic Autobot. Whether or not Hasbro and Mattel are ever going to release a Decepticon Hot Wheels car is uncertain at this point, but since Boneshaker is a heroic Autobot just like Twin Mill, I personally wouldn't mind if all of the Hot Wheels cars were Autobots. But yeah, I've seen some fans and collectors incorrectly believe that Boneshaker is supposed to be a Decepticon, and again due to the his front grille having the skull face and the flame paint job making him look like a Halloween car or a monstrous machine. But no, Boneshaker is surprisingly an Autobot. So he's basically an Autobot who just has almost like a Halloween or Gothic type paint job. And so I personally imagine Boneshaker having a slightly more gruff and tough attitude, like similar to Ironhide or Impactor from the Wreckers, where he believes in fighting first, ask questions later. And that aspect of his personality is reflective in his alt mode. But that's just me spitballing. As Transformers characters, Twin Mill and Boneshaker are brand new. The only history they have is the vehicles that they transform into, so it's up to you to decide how you would like these guys to be portrayed. Excuse me, please. So there's, again, your product photos. You got Boneshaker in his alt mode and his robot mode. He stands 5 inches tall, which is 12.7 centimeters, and yes, Twin Mill and Boneshaker are the exact same size compared to each other. There he is in his robot mode and his alt mode. And one thing they don't show in the product photo on the alt mode is that Boneshaker, his accessory piece of a club type weapon, it ends up being the you can see it packaged right there inside his box. It ends up being the joystick for his alt mode, and it's so large and massive it actually sticks up over the open roof of his alt mode. But I kind of wish they would have shown that in the product photo of his alt mode on the back of the box. So yeah, there's his alt mode. There's Boneshaker's alt mode. You can't have a more monstrous Halloween style sports car than Boneshaker is. And I love how the way the designers at Hasbro and Mattel, and Takara Tomy especially, that they made the skull face grill of his alt mode end up being his robot mode chest. I really enjoy that. And there's Boneshaker on the Hasbro and the Hot Wheels Transformers crossover logo. That number 2 there on the back of his box means that he's the second Hot Wheels Transformers action figure to be released. So once again, Twin Mill is the first. He was the first Hot Wheels car that was an entirely original model created at Mattel for the Hot Wheels line, and now he's the first Hot Wheels car to be a Transformers action figure. And I just love that. I apologize for continuing to yawn. I probably should have waited until tomorrow to record this review, but I wanted to get it done. But I love here for the height measurement. They could have just recycled. They could have just used one silhouette for every Hot Wheels Transformers box, but they decided to use the silhouettes for the individual ones here. And so yeah, pretty neat here seeing Boneshaker and Twin Mill inside their boxes. And once again, for a size comparison, here they are next to a typical Hot Wheels car. And so as you can see, the designers at Hasbro and Mattel, they tried to mimic mash up the style of packaging that Hot Wheels cars come packaged in versus the style of packaging that Transformers action figures have been known to come in the past when designing the boxes here for Twin Mill and Boneshaker. And they aren't packaged completely sitting flush with the back of the box. They're both packaged at a slight angle where they're slightly raised off the back. But yeah, pretty nice looking here. These guys, I believe the retail price for them is the same size as most deluxe Transformers action figures, and they are still available, I believe. They are still being found on the shelves of Target stores here in the United States. As of this video's recording, it's January of 2026. But yeah, I really enjoy how they try to go for exert the style of box that standard Hot Wheels cars can package in for these two figures. So, without further delay, let's get these guys out of their boxes and take a close look at them in their alt modes. Alright, and so here are Boneshaker and Twin Mill out of their boxes, and as you can see, they're slightly on the small side when it comes to deluxe class Transformers action figures, but personally I think the designers at Hasbro and Takara purposely made them slightly small just to try and appeal to the idea that they're Hot Wheels cars and still have that small size without actually being there. One thing to note about Twin Mill and Boneshaker is that one thing that the designers have is that at first glance it feels like the out of the box it feels like the tires are made out of rubbery plastic. If they are, the designers did a good job of doing that, because I honestly thought for a moment, fresh out of the box, that the just like for those who collect Transformers action figures, just like Legacy Beachcomber and his mold mate of Decepticon Ruckus, that the tires are made out of rubber, which Hot Wheels cars don't have rubber tires. The tires on Hot Wheels cars are made out of plastic, while the actual cars themselves, the chassis, are made out of die-cast metal. So, but yeah, that's one thing to be aware of. As far as I can, so from reviews that I've already watched on both Twin Mill and Boneshaker, they have no die-cast metal parts made on them, unlike actual Hot Wheels cars. They are made entirely out of plastic. So for those wondering if any parts of them were made out of die-cast metal, such as Twin Mill's engine blocks or Boneshaker's front grille, no, these are entirely plastic Transformers action figures. Now for the accessory pieces, Twin Mill, it comes with these two flame aim pieces, and these are made out of rubbery plastic. And they're basically the equivalent of blast effect weapons. You attach them here on the out of his exhaust pipes, and it makes it look like Twin Mill's accelerating at full speed and burning rubber with flames coming out of the exhaust pipes. There's just barely enough clearance that they are sitting next to the tires, but not preventing them from spinning. But if you spin them around too much, there will be paint scraped off if you have the flame decals there on the sides of them. So, yeah, that's Twin Mill's accessory pieces. Depending on how you look at it, as far as which of these Twin Mill or Boneshaker has the better accessory piece, depends on your taste. I personally think Boneshaker has the better one. So yeah, here's his club weapon, which almost looks like a lightning rod or an electricity conductor from like you'd see in a old horror movie from a mad scientist lab. And right here on the top, holding it upside down, rotate it so it's upright. My camera blurs stuff out if I get too close to it, but you got the skull and crossbones with the Autobot Transformers logo on the top of the condensing rod / club weapon, and there's a tiny 3mm rectangular port, or 2mm there, and it goes into that rectangular slot right there on Boneshaker, and Boneshaker, and it not only is a lightning rod, but it doubles as the gear stick for his alt mode, and there's almost like a hinge joint there on the back. So I kind of wish the designers at Hasbro Tomy would have designed it so that it would have been able to fold back and sit here at an angle. But unfortunately, right there, having it stick out of the top of Boneshaker as a lightning rod's the only weapon storage for it. So it's not the best looking one, but it does make Boneshaker stand out farther from Twin Mill. So here's a close-up of their paint jobs. Twin Mill's got this, he's mostly blue with these racing stripes running the length of his alt mode across the hood and the top of him. And this is where he gets his name of Twin Mill. He's got twin in engine blocks here on the side of him to give him double the speed that he would if he had just one. But yeah, I've always liked the design for Twin Mill. It's always been one of my favorite Hot Wheels cars, and I just really enjoy how he came out. And this is true for both Twin Mill and Boneshaker. They actually have the Hot Wheels logo painted on them. Twin Mill's Hot Wheels logo is here on the back of him, and then here's Boneshaker, and again, he's mostly black with the yellow flame paint job on his hood and both sides of his alt mode, so he has that Halloween monster motif going for him. And his Hot Wheels logo is here on the top of his hood, and he gets his name of Boneshaker due to the fact that his front grille is a skull with skeleton hands actually holding on to the headlights for his alt mode. And between Twin Mill and Boneshaker, I've seen more reviews on Boneshaker than I have for Twin Mill. So for Transformers fans and collectors, Boneshaker's become their favorite of the two Hot Wheels collaborative Transformers action figures, but I enjoy them both equally. Twin Mill, I really enjoy the mostly blue paint job that he has. But I won't deny that black has always been my favorite color, so Boneshaker being almost entirely black, he gets an instant win for me, regardless of whatever flaws he has, such as the storage space for the lightning rod, making it just stick out on him, making him like he's inviting a death. But I do love the fact that Boneshaker is in fact a heroic Autobot, so he's almost like an Autobot who isn't afraid of dying, and I just love that about him. As far as being Autobots and Transformers, I believe Boneshaker, the Autobot logo painted on the skull and crossbones here on the top of the lightning rod, that's the only Autobot logo that Boneshaker has. I don't believe he actually has any Autobot logos actually painted on himself. It's just on his weapon. Twin Mill, I just put them on, but if I take them off again, he's got an Autobot logo on both sides of his alt mode right in front of the back tires. I kind of wish they would have done either a white or silver outline so they would just stand out more. But yeah, living up to his name of Twin, he has twin Autobot logos on both sides of his alt mode. I don't know where that ends up in his robot mode. I believe it's the bottom of his legs. And for those of you wondering, the accessory pieces that Twin Mill and Boneshaker come with, they are not interchangeable. There is no way of storing Boneshaker's lightning rod on top of Twin Mill, and likewise, there's no spots to attach Twin Mill's flames onto a Boneshaker. So if you wanted to mix and match the accessory pieces, unfortunately there's no way of doing that. One last thing to note about Boneshaker is that because he has an open-seated car, he does have his two seats sculpted on him. They've been painted brown, and there is a sculpted steering wheel there on the interior of the dashboard. One thing to note about Boneshaker, one little slight flaw that he has is that his Hot Wheels car has this motif of having open-sided windows all around him, and because of how he transforms the back section of the top roof of his alt mode right here. It splits in half, and unfortunately it splits in half quite easily when Boneshaker is transferred into his alt mode. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to stay clamped together like that, but just be mindful if you push on it with very little effort, it will split in half. And it doesn't really lock in place that securely, so just be mindful that Boneshaker, or those two little panel sections, will split apart quite easily. So that's pretty much all there is to say. I really like how the paint jobs came out here. I love how from what I can tell, looking at the wheels, I believe they are cast out of they're actually cast in gray plastic, and then the tires are painted black, which is kind of a shame because if you roll these guys around a lot, which they do roll around quite easily, just grabbing one of the boxes here. So yeah, they do roll quite well and quite effectively on flat surfaces. But yeah, looking at the wheels, you can see it more on Twin Mill than you can with Boneshaker, but the wheels are actually cast in gray plastic, and then the tires have been painted black. And unfortunately, if you roll these guys around a lot, there is a risk that you will scrape off the black paint with time. Twin Mill's tires have sculpted surfaces out on them. Boneshaker's tires are perfectly flat with no sculpting detailing on it. So Boneshaker is like race cars. He's built on a flat surface to go around a racetrack, and not on surface streets. But yeah, for Boneshaker, it's actually the opposite. I take that back, what I just said a moment ago. His wheels are sculpted in black plastic with the hubcaps painted silver. It's the opposite for Twin Mill. His tires are cast in gray plastic, and then the tires are painted black. So just be mindful with Twin Mill. There's a risk that his tires could have scraped paint over time. I kind of wish they would have done that with Twin Mill like they did with Boneshaker, where the wheels are actually sculpted in black plastic and then the hubcaps are painted instead of doing it the opposite way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as my personal favorite of the two, like I said, black is my favorite color, so for that alone, as far as which of them is my favorite, even though Twin Mill is my, I enjoy this car more than I do Boneshaker. As far as which one is my personal favorite of the two, I'm going to have to give the vote to Boneshaker just because of his mostly black paint job. But overall, I do enjoy how they turned out. Twin Mill does have visible head syndrome when he's transformed into his alt mode. Boneshaker manages to hide his face in alt mode due to how he transforms. But yes, let's finally get these guys transformed into their robot modes and wrap up the review. Alright, and so here are Boneshaker and Twin Mill transformed into their robot modes, and for what they are, yeah, they are somewhat impressive looking Transformers action figures. Now, one thing I have to correct myself is that Twin Mill's engine blocks are accessory pieces. They clip over his arm in robot mode. So in addition to the flames, the engine blocks themselves are accessory pieces as well. And they're actually three parts. The exhaust pipe is attached to the actual engine block via a 5mm port that's very shallow, but it is a separate piece. Same thing with the actual intake for the engine. It is also attached via a 5mm port. So if you lose all these accessory pieces, then Twin Mill will have his engines will be unable to drive, and would end up with his alt mode looking very awkward. Alright, so just be mindful that the engine blocks themselves are also accessory pieces. So if you were to, it wouldn't surprise me if 10 or more years from now, if copies of Twin Mill appear on the selling on the internet with his engine blocks totally gone, or the engine block parts being sold separately. Yeah, without a twin mill on the internet. But yeah, there he is with all his accessory pieces attached to him. There's a close-up of his head sculpt again, and yeah, pretty impressive looking. Standard articulation for a deluxe class figure, kind of, sort of. His head's attached via a ball joint on the back of his neck. So twin mill can look up slightly. He can't really look down. His head can spin 360 degrees, both clockwise and counterclockwise. The shoulders are attached at swivel joints that can spin 360 degrees, clockwise and counterclockwise. They can go up this far before they hit the side of twin mill's head. A swivel joint in the bicep, hinged elbow, but it actually bends farther facing the backwards than it does forwards due to how the shape of the hinge is. Wrist swivels, due to transformation you have to rotate the hands, so there are wrist swivels here. Waist swivel, universal jointed hips, so legs can go forward this far on twin mill, they can go back this far. Or swivel joints right above the knees, and then hinge joints at the knees. The toes can't really move up and down. Pretty much the only part of the feet that can move up and down are the heel spurs. But you do have ankle rockers, so you can get twin mill into a sprawl-legged pose if you desire. Overall, twin mill is a pretty decently articulated Transformers action figure. And for Boneshaker, here he is in his robot mode. Again, he's wielding the lightning rod as a club in robot mode. Pretty much the same articulation as twin mill. Head's attached to the torso via a ball joint there on the back of the head, so he can spin his head 360 degrees, both clockwise and counterclockwise. Boneshaker's articulation is more limited than twin mill due to the fact that his shoulder piece is separate from the actual shoulder pads. So the arms have the potential to spin 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise, but the shoulder kill prevents you from actually doing that. And the arms can at least go out this far. A swivel joint in the bicep, hinged elbows. No wrist swivels due to the hands folding in and out of the lower arms when you transform Boneshaker into his alt mode. He does have a waist swivel, which is nice. Universal joints in the hips, so legs on Boneshaker can go forward this far. They can go back this far before you run into his backpack armor. Swivel joint in the thigh, hinged knee, and for Boneshaker, the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy went for this flat foot design for him. So pretty much this entire section right here is his foot. So yeah, not really much in terms of foot articulation due to how it transforms. If you wanted to, just like twin mill, you can put the heel spurs downward, which the heel spurs are the chairs for Boneshaker's alternate mode. But yeah, if you want him to have actual toes on the front of his feet, you can unclip this piece and have it sitting down like that and give him a flat-toed foot, but it's not supposed to do that. You're supposed to actually transform it and have it in this position. So yeah, I'm actually surprised. Twin mill has slightly more articulated joints than Boneshaker does, but overall I'm really impressed with how each of them turned out. And I apologize for not bringing out any Transformers action figures to do a size comparison, but for a size comparison one more time with a standard Hot Wheels car still inside the box. Here they are next to that. So in robot mode they're not quite as tall as the card backs for that Hot Wheels cars come in, but pretty close overall. So yeah, here they are next to some standard Hot Wheels cars. So for my final thoughts, do I recommend getting Twin Mill and Boneshaker, and adding both of the Hot Wheels collaborative Transformers action figures to your Transformers collection? Absolutely, I do. Both Twin Mill and Boneshaker are fantastic Transformers action figures in their own right. I love how the designs of their robot modes turned out, and despite Boneshaker having more limited articulation than Twin Mill, they're both pretty fantastic looking Transformers action figures. And as I said, if you're strictly a Hot Wheels collector, if you ever wonder what it would be like to get if the Hot Wheels cars were sentient beings, were alive, and had their own minds and had their own thoughts, then these two action figures of Boneshaker and Twin Mill give an idea of what that would be like if Hot Wheels cars were sentient and could think for themselves. And if you're not, and for those of you out there who are strictly Transformers fans and collectors, and you're not really into Hot Wheels cars, you ever wonder what it would be like to have a Transformers action figure that had a Hot Wheels car for an alt mode? Then Twin Mill and Boneshaker fill in that niche for those of you ever wondering what that would be like. But yeah, I cannot stress enough how thrilled I am having both of these action figures in my Transformers collection. It is a little disappointing that Hasbro and Takara Tomy decided to just make them a standard deluxe class sized Transformers action figures instead of making them the same size as actual Hot Wheels cars. But a few years ago, Hasbro and Takara Tomy announced that the size of Transformers action figures that would have made Boneshaker and Twin Mill the same size as Hot Wheels cars, the size class was known as core class size. Apparently sales on that size class of Transformers action figure did so poorly, Hasbro decided to just pull the plug and cancel that size class of Transformers figures entirely, so that left Deluxe class being the new smallest sized, now having the title of smallest sized Transformers action figure. Whether or not Core class / Scout class as Transformers action figures over return, and we'll have Transformers figures in mainline Transformers lines of action figures that targeted at older adult age collectors, again, is uncertain at this point, but I am still thrilled that we got Boneshaker and Twin Mill as Transformers action figures and characters now, and I love that they have the same names as the Hot Wheels cars that they transform into. I secretly was always hoping that if Hasbro and Mattel were to ever collaborate and make Transformers action figures based off of Hot Wheels cars, or is that they would retain the same name as the Hot Wheels cars they transformed into. Yeah, I really enjoy that. But yeah, looking over Boneshaker one more time, as I said, the only Autobot logo he has is the skull and crossbones on the lightning rod, so Boneshaker himself doesn't actually have any Autobot logo, so I think that's what led to some confusion amongst some collectors wondering if he's supposed to be an Autobot or a Decepticon, but he is in fact supposed to be an Autobot just like Twin Mill. And the Autobot logos for Twin Mill being in front of the back wheels again, like I said, for his alt mode, they just end up on the shins of his robot mode legs. But yeah, overall, I'm really thrilled with how both these guys turned out. So this has been the TF Fan Geek. This has been my double review of both of the Transformers Hot Wheels collaborative action figures of Twin Mill and Boneshaker. I highly recommend getting both of these action figures if you can. And that's pretty much all there is to say. So until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and remember there is no age limit on collecting. What matters most to collecting is if you enjoy the hobby, and if you do, then it's a hobby that lasts a lifetime. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.